I looked at the alien girl's breasts for more than 5 seconds. According to alien law, I have to marry her. Orion had been trained for first contact with 12 alien species, 5 hostile atmospheres, and 1 very sarcastic ship AI. Yet nothing had prepared him for the catastrophe of simply looking at someone for too long. The council chamber hovered over a blue star like it owned the place, its floor transparent enough to make Orion mildly nauseous, and its ceiling alive with drifting constellations that shuffled like indecisive wallpaper. He took his seat behind Earth's tiny desk, which felt more like a child's study table next to the other civilizations, floating thrones, and breathing crystal platforms. He activated his translator cuff, and it promptly sneezed static into his ear. "Don't you dare malfunction today," Orion muttered. "I never dare," the cuff replied gloomily. "I merely disappoint when expectations grow too ambitious." The delegates shuffled in. A cloud being drifted through a wall and apologized to it. A metallic creature folded itself into a cube and began humming in binary. 2 beings that resembled rogue mushrooms argued about whose spores got window seating. Orion tried not to stare at anyone too intensely. He focused on his diplomatic notes, which consisted mainly of phrases like "smile, but not too much," and "do not mention Earth's reality shows." Then she entered. He didn't intend to stare. He really didn't. He meant to glance, register, then return politely to pretending he belonged here. But the moment his eyes met hers, reality flickered like a faulty hologram. Aelira of Velyth looked almost human, except her long ears curved back elegantly, as if listening to stars rather than sound, and her eyes carried a soft glow like lanterns behind glass. She paused, startled, as though she had walked into an unseen doorway. Orion forgot gravity existed. The chamber fell preposterously quiet. Even the mushrooms stopped arguing. Somewhere above, a crystalline orb began pulsing slowly red. Orion realized far too late that he was counting. 1, he whispered. He did not blink. 2, he did not exhale. 3, Aelira's eyes widened. 4, the cube being shrank in horror. 5, the orb emitted a chime like a lullaby strangled by panic. Aelira gasped and dropped the tablet she carried. An elder from her delegation collapsed onto a levitating pillow. The mushroom delegates fainted in opposite directions. Orion waved weakly, unsure why. "I was just looking," he said. Aelira rushed forward, her voice barely steady. "Why would you swear it that way?" "I didn't swear anything," he protested. "I just perceived you for slightly longer than socially legal." The council erupted. A dozen languages shouted inside Orion's skull as the translator cuff began crying. "Silence!" boomed the High Arbiter, a being made of floating rings. "The Velythian code of bonded sight has been invoked." Orion offered a trembling smile. "Is that a parking violation?" Aelira looked at him like a comet, viewing a particularly confused moon. "You held my gaze. By our oldest law, that is an oath of union." Union. The word echoed. Orion imagined rings. Paperwork. His mother screaming across the galaxy. "That can't be right," he said. "On Earth, if you hold eye contact, it just means you're either confident or about to be punched." Aelira pressed her fingers to her glowing eyes. "This law predates our written language. Our people believed the eyes carried pieces of the soul. To look longer than 5 heartbeats is to bind them." "Well, my soul was just trying to be polite," Orion said. "It didn't mean anything commitment-wise." An aide scuttled over and unrolled an ancient hologram scroll that burst into flames and immediately apologized. The High Arbiter sighed with several voices. "It is done. Until the ceremony is completed or rare dissolution granted, the bond stands." Orion stared at his hands. "I'm married." "Not yet," said Aelira faintly. "But you are promised." His cuff chimed cheerfully. "Congratulations. Would you like to select a romantic alert tone?" "Disable weddings," Orion snapped. Aelira laughed once, short, stunned, utterly human. Then she covered her mouth and tried not to smile too wide. "I did not plan to meet my oath today. I plan to talk about asteroid tariffs," Orion said. "Life is unfair." They were ushered into adjoining hoverchairs and presented to the chamber as if something grand had happened rather than something catastrophically awkward. The High Arbiter raised its rings. Let history observe. The human Orion has chosen Aelira of Velyth. I did not choose. Orion yelped. My eyeballs did it. Aelira snorted despite herself. As the hall buzzed with transmissions and scandal in real time, Orion leaned toward her and whispered, I swear I wasn't staring for romantic reasons. She tilted her head. Then why were you? He hesitated. Because you look like the universe forgot to include you in the instruction manual. Her ears flushed faintly. That is the strangest compliment I have ever received. Welcome to Earth, he said. The orb dimmed. The council moved on to the next agenda item, like accidental alien engagement was just another Tuesday problem. Orion sat beside his unforeseen future and wondered if blinking had ever mattered more in the history of intelligent life. Orion was escorted out of the council chamber by two hovering security drones shaped like embarrassed triangles and one extremely enthusiastic legal hologram who kept trying to offer him wedding pamphlets in 17 incompatible formats. I don't even know her favorite color, Orion muttered as the doors sealed behind them. Is there a return accidental spouse counter somewhere? According to Velythian custom, chirped the hologram. Romantic discovery begins after binding. It saves time. Of course it does. Aelira walked beside him in silence at first, hands clasped tightly, ears nervously twitching whenever another alien glanced her way. They passed through a corridor that shifted underfoot, rearranging itself into doors and bridges as if guessing where people wanted to go and being consistently wrong about it. So, Orion finally said, on Earth, we usually start relationships with small talk, not soul contracts. She let out a weak laugh. On Velyth, we stare very responsibly. They were ushered into a chamber where a sphere of living light floated like an impatient moon. The hologram legal officer zipped ahead and became solid with the enthusiasm of bureaucracy given physical form. Welcome to the Cultural Clarification Suite. Please refrain from romantic gestures during legal explanation. Several civilizations have learned the hard way. Orion immediately stepped a full meter away from Aelira. The sphere spoke with 1,000 whispering tones. The bonded site law is immutable. Only two outcomes exist: ceremonial completion or trial of dissolution. Trial of dissolution sounds like a game show hosted by fate. Orion said, do we want a toaster if we survive? If the bond is deemed false, it will be erased, the sphere intoned. If true, it will deepen permanently. Aelira swallowed. We would be interwoven at the neurological level. Orion blinked. So shared thoughts. Only the emotional kind, she said. The embarrassing thoughts remain private. He sighed in relief. Thank the universe. The hologram projected ancient diagrams that made absolutely no sense and gave several of them little wedding hats anyway. Orion's cuff attempted to translate and instead recited a recipe for soup. How rare is the trial? Orion asked. Extremely, said the sphere. Usually invoked when one party is unwilling. Well, I definitely qualify. I almost married a vending machine once because it stole my credit chip, but this is a first. Aelira glanced at him, uncertain. You truly do not wish the bond. He paused longer than expected. I just didn't choose it. I don't think destiny should sneak up on someone like a poorly parked spaceship. She nodded quietly. The sphere chimed. Until a decision is reached, the bond remains active. Public appearances are recommended to reduce interstellar panic. Orion groaned. I don't even look good in my own species' clothes. Image consultants will be provided, said the hologram. One from Earth, one from Velyth, and one being who does not believe in clothing. Of course. They were escorted out into a waiting transport shaped like a sleeping animal. It purred when they boarded. The door slid closed. Silence lingered. Aelira spoke first. I never thought my first binding would be with someone who apologizes to furniture. Listen, Orion said gently. I'd never mean to drag you into something like this. She smiled sadly. And yet here we are. The transport lurched sideways into hyperspace, lights bending into ribbons around them. Orion cleared his throat. For what it's worth, I'm Orion. She blinked. We did not exchange names. Hard to do when your culture thinks I propose with my eyeballs. Aelira laughed, really laughed this time, warmth lighting her glowing eyes. I am Aelira. Nice to meet you officially, he said. And you? She replied softly. Unofficially. You are already quite unforgettable. A pause followed. So, he ventured. Do you eat? Yes, she said. Why? Just checking. It's awkward marrying someone who photosynthesizes. The transport purred louder in what sounded suspiciously like amusement. Aelira leaned back. I suppose this is how alliances are born now. With eye contact violations, Orion said, I'm going to petition Earth to change all treaties accordingly. Outside the viewport, stars unfolded like paper maps. Inside, two strangers sat bound by a law older than their worlds, unsure whether to laugh, flee, or fall. Orion learned he was famous when his communicator exploded into life at 3 in the morning and informed him that he was now a public emotional asset. I don't even know what that means, he mumbled, face half crumpled into the pillow of a hotel that gently tried to breathe around him. It means, said the screen cheerfully, that 17 civilizations are currently arguing about your relationship status. He groaned. I'm not even in a relationship. I'm in a legally romantic hostage situation. Aelira knocked once and entered before he could answer, looking both elegant and deeply tired in the way only someone who has read several thousand laws overnight can manage. You are trending, she announced. I hate that word. She held up her tablet. On Velyth, half my people believe you are a sign of ancient prophecy. The other half believe you are an alien scam. That's fair, Orion said. On Earth, they've already sold mugs with my face on them. What do the mugs say? He recited from memory. I stared and all I got was an alien fiancé. They glow in the dark. Aelira pressed her knuckles to her lips to keep from laughing. I am so sorry. The door chimed again, and the room was promptly invaded by advisors, stylists, translators, and one floating camera drone that insisted on excellent lighting. A being made entirely of fabric unfolded itself in front of Orion. We are here to make you palatable to the galaxy. I already showered, he said. Spiritually palatable, it clarified. Another consultant, this one with 6 arms and a hawk's beak, gestured dramatically. You must appear united. Symbolism is everything. Orion glanced at Aelira. Do we hold hands or something? She shifted awkwardly. I do not know the human protocol for pretending affection. Usually we just panic quietly, he said. The drone floated closer. Smile. Orion smiled too hard. Aelira looked like she was being gently threatened. The news began immediately. Questions came from every direction. Is this love? Is this war? Is this part of a long-term marketing campaign? Do humans always propose with their faces? Orion answered honestly. No. Usually we use cake. Aelira tried to maintain diplomatic grace. The bond was not intentional, but we are seeking understanding. A reporter composed entirely of sound asked, Have you bonded emotionally? Orion squinted. I bonded with her over shared confusion. Aelira added, and existential dread. The reporter vibrated happily. Later, in a quieter lounge, they sat with glowing drinks neither of them trusted. I keep thinking, Orion admitted. Someone is going to show up and say this was all a misunderstanding and you're actually married to a lamp instead. Aelira stirred her drink, which tried unsuccessfully to stir back. I keep thinking you will run. He frowned. Why would you think that? Because you did not choose this, she said softly. And where I come from, choice is sacred. He leaned back. Where I come from, free will is mostly used to eat terrible food at 2 in the morning. She smiled faintly. Aelira studied him for a moment. May I ask you something difficult? Only if I can answer with humor, he said. Do you wish the trial? The words hung there. He did not answer immediately. I don't want to make you disappear from my life, just because a law shoved us together, he said quietly. But I also don't want to chain you with something you never asked for. She nodded slowly. That is kinder than prophecy. Outside, the stars drifted past as if listening. A burst of noise shattered the silence as Orion's communicator flared again. Breaking news, it announced. Several Velythian religious sects have declared you the accidental one. Earth has declared you a liability. Merch sales continue to rise. Aelira laughed helplessly, the tension cracking like ice under warmth. You have a title now. Great, Orion said. Do I get vacation days with that? Another alert popped up. Attention, protesters gathered outside the diplomatic station. What are they protesting? Orion asked. The AI hesitated. Everything. They stood at the viewport together, watching distant lights flicker like uneasy fireflies. Aelira spoke softly. Orion, even if the bond is undone, I would like not to forget you. He exhaled. Good, because I'm already terrible at forgetting people I accidentally marry. She laughed again, and this time, he did not pretend it didn't do something strange inside his chest. In the halls beyond them, civilizations whispered, and somewhere in the machinery of the universe, an ancient law waited to see whether it would be broken or transformed. The message arrived at the worst possible time, which Orion was starting to suspect was Destiny's favorite hobby. It came while he was arguing with a machine that insisted on measuring his romantic aura and kept zapping him with polite lightning. Aelira entered as the device proclaimed. Emotional voltage above average. Congratulations, you are statistically endearing. I want a refund on my feelings, Orion muttered. Her tablet glowed urgently. The council has approved the trial of dissolution. He froze. Already? Yes. Several factions are becoming restless. Some believe our bond is a miracle. Others think it is a ticking superweapon. Ah yes, he said. Classic romance. They were summoned immediately. The transport took them beyond mapped starways, past regions that refused to be charted and nebulae that hissed when looked at too directly. Aelira sat with her hands folded. Orion bounced, one knee like the universe might notice and hurry. So, he said awkwardly, if this thing decides we're not real, do we just poof? It dissolves the emotional resonance, she replied. Memories remain. The pull disappears. He tried to smile. That sounds painful in the boring way. Are you afraid? She asked. Only emotionally, Orion said, and physically, and spiritually, in equal parts. The transport slowed. A living moon awaited them. The surface reshaped itself beneath their feet, glowing with pale circuits and ancient patterns shifting like thought. The entrance opened as if yawning. Inside, the chamber breathed. A voice unfurled around them, soft and endless. Enter, bound ones. Orion leaned close to Aelira and whispered, If we die, I'm haunting the council. Deal, she whispered back. They stepped into the core. The trial began without warning. The world twisted. Orion found himself 14 again, standing in his childhood kitchen, watching himself drop a bowl of cereal and pretend it never happened. He heard his mother laughing, his father humming off-key. The scene shattered. He was older, alone in a cramped training dorm, recording messages no one answered. Then, Aelira, not as she was now, but as a child with glowing eyes too large for her face, staring up at the night skies of Velyth whispering, I will leave this place. Orion reached for her. His hand passed through light. The moon spoke again. Bonded ones, your truths unfold here. Lie and you sink. Deny and you vanish. The chamber shifted. Aelira now stood within her own memories. Her parents arguing in musical tones. Teachers telling her curiosity was dangerous. The ache of quiet exile. She saw Orion watching. Embarrassed thoughts crashed over her. She saw herself spying on Earth broadcasts, laughing at stupid human shows, wondering what it would be like to speak freely. Orion winced. You watched our cooking competitions. Yes, she admitted. The screaming fascinated us. The moon pulsed. A new space formed. They stood together, surrounded by countless versions of moments they had not yet lived, laughing, arguing. Strange alien holidays, mundane mornings, storms they might weather or never see. The moon spoke again. This bond was not summoned by accident. Gaze is only a doorway. Feeling chose its own path. Orion swallowed. Is it real then? The moon hummed. Define real. Aelira stepped forward. If the bond remains, will we lose ourselves? You will simply gain another gravity, the moon replied. Orion snorted. Great. I always wanted emotional physics. The chamber shook. The moon glowed brighter. Decide, it whispered. Hold your truth. Let go or lean in. Orion turned to Aelira. I don't know what comes after this. She met his eyes, careful now, unafraid. Neither do I. But I know what it feels like when you are near. He took a breath. Like a problem I don't want solved. She smiled sadly. Like a question I'm no longer afraid to ask. The light surged. For a terrible second, Orion felt everything loosen. Then, warmth. Connection. Not a chain. A thread. Strong. The moon went quiet. When the light faded, they were still standing. Together. The voice returned, softer now. The bond stands. Orion stared at Aelira. So, she laughed shakily. It seems you are still legally disastrous. He grinned. Best kind to be. Outside, the living moon slowly dimmed, its ancient duty fulfilled for one more impossible union. And the universe, watching from 1,000 eyes, leaned closer. The council chamber was louder than it had any right to be. Not with arguments this time, but with music. Bad music. Interstellar music. Sounded like mathematics getting emotional. And someone from Spiral Colonies had brought instruments that screamed in 3 dimensions. Orion stood in the middle of it all, wearing robes that kept changing color, depending on his heart rate. Unfortunately, his heart was apparently hosting a rave. Aelira stood across from him, glowing softly, her long ears adorned with threads of living starlight that wriggled whenever she laughed, which was often, because the Velythian composer assigned to the ceremony kept bursting into tears midway through every song for the drama. You look terrified, she teased. I am, he replied. If anything goes wrong, I'm going to be married slightly incorrectly in front of the galaxy. The High Arbiter floated forward, rings polished and smug. Let the union of worlds commence, it boomed. Someone tripped. A mushroom delegate rolled across the floor. The music crescendoed into a sound suspiciously like a whale falling downstairs. Orion leaned toward Aelira. If we survive this, I'm blaming you for my emotional development. She smiled warmly. I accept full responsibility. The rituals began. Vows were spoken in ancient languages, some audible only to starlight, others broadcast accidentally into Earth's late-night radio channels. Humans listening thought they'd tuned into experimental jazz. A group in Nevada tried to record it onto vinyl. Then came the ancient question. The Arbiter's voice echoed through the chamber. By sight you were bound. By will you must remain. Human Orion, do you choose Aelira of Velyth, not by accident, but by self? Orion inhaled. He remembered the trial, the loneliness, the laughter. He exhaled. I didn't plan this, he said, voice steady despite the chaos around him. I didn't ask for destiny to sneak up on me with marriage papers. But I did choose not to run. I choose her. On purpose. Terrifyingly. Joyfully. Aelira's eyes shimmered. And you? The Arbiter turned. Aelira of Velyth. Do you choose to remain? She stepped forward. My people believe love begins in the eyes, she said softly. But I have learned it continues in the silence between words and the courage to stay. I choose you, Orion. Even without law. Even without stars watching. The chamber stilled. Even the drummer from the screaming orchestra stopped mid-wail. A pulse of light surged outward from them, rippling through orbital stations and planetary skies. On Earth, half the city lights flickered. On Velyth, children woke dreaming of unfamiliar galaxies. The Arbiter's rings glowed. So it is sealed, it declared. Not by rule, but by choice. The bond shifted. Felt different. Warmer. Lighter. Aelira blinked at Orion. Do you feel that? He nodded. Like destiny finally filled out the paperwork correctly. The crowd erupted. Fireworks ignited outside the chamber, some on purpose, Some because Earth technology had been wired into Velythian power grids and nobody planned very well. Later, as music resumed and alien guests attempted human dancing with mixed results, Orion found himself sitting with Aelira on a quiet balcony between stars. I almost said no, he admitted. She smiled gently. I know. I was afraid I'd lose myself. And now, he looked at her. I think I found more. She rested her head lightly against his shoulder. From across the station, protesters were already packing up their signs. The mugs would still sell. The Psychic Squid had released a celebratory album. And somewhere deep in the archives of Velyth, a new law was written. Gazing may awaken fate. Proceed with wonder. And blinking is advised, but optional. Orion laughed quietly. What? Aelira asked. I just realized, he said. I didn't even learn your favorite color before marrying you. She grinned. Starlight blue. He considered. Mine is now that. The end.